Hey, welcome back to edtech by Meera. And in today's tutorial, we are going to learn all about scopes in Python, especially scopes as in Python variables, like what is a scope and how it can be used, etc. in a function. So basically, when you talk of scope, there are two types of scopes. One in a variable, that is, in a Python variable. One is a local scope and the other one is a global scope. Now, this is for complete beginners in Python. So, if you know already about this, then you don't need to watch this. But if you want to refresh your memory, you can still watch and learn from it. Yeah. So, let's consider an example of a local scope, like what you mean by it. So based on the position of the variable, we call it local or global. So here we are considering a function, so define a pet name. So the name of the function is pet name. And we are creating a variable called pet with a value of Gigi. That was my cat before she passed away. My Lord, oh my God, I miss her so much that even I started using her in my tutorials. Cannot help it. So create a variable with the name, with a string value of Gigi, and assign it to this function. But mind you, here it's a local variable because you are mentioning it, positioning it inside the function. After that, you give a command to the computer or to the function to execute the print task. So what are you wanting to print? Print my pet name is, and then as usual the string statement, comma, and the variable name, which is the pet. Pet is a variable name, remember? Okay. Then after that, remember you remember how to call a function. So here we have to call the function which is pet name. So we call the function pet name. So let's see what happens. Let's run the function and see what happens. So we defined a function, we created the variable pet, we assigned a printing task to be executed inside the function, and then we are calling the function. So let's see what happens. My pet name is Gigi. So it's able to do it. Why? Because this is a local variable, or rather local, the variable with a local scope. And where did you do the print command or the print to be executed? That was written, the code for the printing was written inside. Print, my pet name is pet, so print was written inside the function. So that means you tried to execute, or you tried to access, you tried to execute it inside the function, and you tried by accessing the variable pet inside the function. Calling a function is obviously, that's a different thing, pet name you called. So, but the printing task was executed inside, and not only that, you accessed it, access the variable pet, which is already a local variable, and inside the variable. So that's possible. Now let's see another situation. Now here, I'm gonna execute the print outside the function, and let's see what's happening. Earlier it was inside, a print was executing inside. See, now it throws an error message, pet is not defined. Did you mean set? So why? Because here I'm executing the print task outside the function, and that means I'm trying to access the variable pet from outside the function. As you can see here, print pet. So this print command is outside the function, not inside. Earlier it was print my pet name is pet was inside the function. So the moment you go outside the function and try to access the variable pet, it will throw in an error message. Why? Because for local scope, that means if a variable is situated inside a function, which is called local situation or local scope, in that case, it can be only accessed locally, not from outside the function, not globally, in other words. So that's why it threw up an error message. Since the variable pet is having a local scope, or rather situated inside the function pet name. But we try to access it from outside the function. Simple as that. So I'm just writing it down for you guys so that in case you forget or you want to refer to it later, not only can you play the video and listen to my voice and see what's happening here, at the same time you have something written scope here, written reference here, so that you can understand or rather refresh your memory later in case you forget or get confused between local and global scope. Yeah. So that's why I'm having it written also. Of course, I'll be documenting it later in my blog post. I'll let you know on that matter soon. But here also, it's always better to write notes here in the comment form. So you should make it a practice to do that, not only for you, but for others who are referring to your code. So you see, I'm commenting out the notes so that only the developer can see, or someone who's trying to read the code can see, not the user who's just able to see the outcome. So this part is clear for you now. So you can, when you give the print command, that is when you're executing the print command from outside the function, you cannot do, but when you were doing it earlier from inside the function, you were able to do. In other words, you can access the variable pet from inside but not outside, since the variable pet is initially and originally located inside the function pet name. So that's quite cool. So you're clear about the global scope, what it means, how you can access, and what happens if you try to access it, otherwise breaking the rule. Okay, let's consider another example which has a global scope. The same variable, pet, same function, but here we are going to show you how it can have a global scope. So what I'm doing, based on the situation I told you earlier, so here the variable pet doesn't have local scope. Here it doesn't have a local scope, but it has a global scope. Why? Because it is situated outside the function. GG. So whenever a variable has a global scope, that is, it is situated outside the function, you can execute task and you can access the variable from outside also. That is what we are trying to say. In other words, you can access it from anywhere in the program. So see, you are able to access the variable. It's giving you the name. My pet's name is whatever. Print the pet name or whatever. So let's check it out again. So here we could print out the pet's name from outside the function, because now pet is a global one, has a global scope. So it's a global variable because it's already residing outside the function, as you can see. Yeah. Now let's consider another example. So I'm just writing it down. Okay. So your note is ready here, your reference notes. So you can also write it down for your own reference. I'll be doing more Python tutorials, and I'm also doing blog posts on full stack web development, which includes HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, etc. and Node.js. So if you're interested in that, please mention in the comment section, so I can make videos on that as well. Okay, now we consider another example of mixed scope. Now what does it mean, mixed scope? That means it has a global as well as a local scope, a mix of both, Interesting, right? So we see how it can be done. Having a mixed scope, what does it look like? We see an example of it to get a general idea of what is a mixed scope and how is the behavior for a mixed scope variable in a function. Okay, we use the same variable, the same value. So pet equals maybe value, we can change value, you can keep, say, that's up to you, but I'm just trying to make it more interesting. So I give a value of joy to the pet variable, and I situate it outside the function. So here pet equal to joy is a global variable, and then I define the same function pet name. Yeah, define the pet name function. Okay, so what's happening here? So we have a pet variable with a value of joy. string value of joy, which is a global variable. Then we also have the same variable with a different value, which is a value of Gg, the one that we used earlier. But this one is residing inside the function, so has a local scope. So that means mixed scope is one in which the same variable has a local scope as well as a global scope. So that is about mixed scope. As you can see in this example, pet has a global scope with a value of joy staying outside the function. Pet has a local scope with a value of Gg staying inside the function pet name. And then we assign a task of printing the pet name with a string my pet name is pet. Now this task of printing my pet name is assigned inside the function. Then we call the function pet name, which is as usual in this position outside the function. And then we also assign a task called print pet. Yeah, this is also again outside the function. So let's see what's happening to the result. What's happening in the result? So this is a mixed scope with the same variable having both the scopes as shown in this example. Then, okay, my pet name is Gg, joy. So you are getting two answers here. So why is it like this? Because remember, my pet name is Gg, that one is coming from the local scope, the local print task that you have given, and joy is coming when you are trying to assign the print task or access it from outside the function. So when you try to access it globally, you will get the global answer. When you try to access it locally, you will get the local variables answer. Simple as that. Quite cool, right? So this is the advantage of a mixed scope when the same variable has both the scopes. So according to the value of the respective scope, the value will be printed out based on how you are trying to access it. Yeah. So this is what I'm trying to say. Okay. And yeah, there you go. So you can see that the last answer, you are trying to print the pet, that is accessing it from globally outside the function, you got the answer joy. First you tried to print my pet name is print from inside, so you got the answer Gg. So you know what I mean. So this is what happens when you use a variable with a mixed scope. This is what happens. So you saw what happens when you use a local variable with a local scope. You can access it only locally. Then when you used a variable with a global scope, you can access it globally as well. You can access it anywhere in the program, in other words. And when you used a variable with a mixed scope, same variable with a mixed scope, then you get the answer based on a respective type of access as shown in the example. So I would say that I will be doing more of Python tutorials and Python projects. So if you're interested to learn more, do remember to smash that subscribe button. And if you're already subscribed, stay subscribed so that you have more interesting tutorials and projects coming up. There you go. So I just commented the global variable, the variable with the global position, or the scope, sorry. So when I commented out the global scope, then I get the answer with only the local scope, as you can see, because the variable with the name Gg was a local scope variable. So in that case, I only get the answer with the local scope. So this is what I've been saying so far and trying to make you understand. So because normally when students hear the name of scope in Python, they get like very confused. So I just took some easy examples here, some very basic examples to make you understand the meaning of scope. And I'm sure it's quite clear to you because even a baby can understand. It's explained in a very simple manner. So I'm sorry about the noise in the background because As I mentioned earlier, I work from home and a lot of disturbances in the background, and it's difficult to make others stay quiet. Haha. Having cats, dogs, and a lot of other human beings in the house can be very noisy. And even now, I had to shut off the noisy phones, the noisy air cons, the noisy fans, the air coolers, the air purifiers, etc., etc. I'm sweating it out here in order to let you have a peaceful audio journey here in my tutorial. Haha. But still, something has to come up. Some scratching noise, some switch on noise or something like that, or some bumping noise in the background which somebody else is doing it. I'm so sorry about that. But trust me, I want to have you a very easy journey in your learning lessons. So I hope you understand and you cooperate with some noise and disturbances in my tutorial. Yeah? So let's see. So until now, we have covered a lot in the beginner. There's just a couple of lessons more in the beginner tutorial. After that, some more projects. And as I mentioned earlier, if you're interested in learning JavaScript, HTML, CSS, Node.js, because I am doing that in my blog post, on my Substack blog post, for covering the free code camp certification, full stack web development certificate. If you're interested, do let me know. From my blog post, I will also do video tutorials as explanatory tutorials. If you're interested, do mention in the comment section if you're interested, so that I know accordingly who all are interested. And I've not yet covered, not yet planned data analytics, but anyone interested in that, Python for data analytics, I would like to know beforehand so that I can plan accordingly. Because as you know, Python is not just for web development, it's also for data analytics. So do let me know if you're interested in that, because I've not yet planned, but it'll be interesting if I know in advance if anybody is interested in that. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm just trying to comment out the previous, the functions above, so that the result will only show the latest functions result. Yeah, so it's easier for the console to be less crowded. So I'm just doing that. I always do that, mind you, so that the console doesn't show the result of the previous function and you get confused. Sorry about the slow Wi-Fi. I just moved a week ago to a new house and the internet is very slow here because it's a high apartment residence. But I've already decided to upgrade, and maybe in a week or two it should be fine. So please bear with me until such time. So there you go. My pet name is Gigi or Gigi, whatever you call it. So this was remember the local variable. I mean, yeah, local variable or variable with the local scope. Because I tried to access it locally. Remember, I commented out the access for accessing it globally. So then it will just, now I'm again removing the comment. There you go. So now you see what happens. Just showing it again. See, now you get both the answers. The global answer as well as the local answer. The print task which was trying to access locally is giving you the local value, GG, and the print task that was trying to execute and access the variable name, the variable pet, from outside the function got hold of the global value, which is joy, the global value of the variable pet. So you have both the answers here based on from where you are trying to access. When you access it locally, you get the local value. When you are trying to access it globally, you get the global value. So that means this is for the example with the mixed scope. When you have same variable with a mixed scope, local as well as global. So you saw all the examples, global, local, then mixed. So I think that was the coolest of example I could give you. And if you still cannot follow, do let me know in the comment section what you cannot follow and where you cannot follow so that I can explain further. And do remember to smash that subscribe button, or stay subscribed. And do remember to comment if you want tutorials in other programming languages such as HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Node.js, and also data analytics, which is again in Python, and some other roadmap is there. Do let me know if you're interested, because this one is purely for web development. See you in the next. Until then, stay subscribed.